Hello everyone, welcome back to BBR English. On this channel, we discuss the problems faced by Indian working professionals with respect to their spoken English fluency and communication challenges. And in today's video, we are going to discuss an important concept: how to speak impromptu or without preparation in your office setting, that too in English. Now, for a lot of working professionals, you might get caught into those situations where you might have to reply to your boss, who might catch you at any hour asking about the project status report, or maybe that you are unsurprisingly called into a meeting which you hadn't prepared for in advance, or you actually have to ask a question in the meeting, and for this you might not have been prepared in advance. So what do? Well, today I will give you 4 ideas on how do you go about speaking confidently in fluent English, that to an impromptu setting at your office. You can use these ideas to make sure that you're always charming and confident and have all the answers ready whenever you're caught upon. The first point ends up being is stop caring about what other people think. Now, you might wonder a bit, and what do I mean by that? Because you obviously have to care what your boss thinks about you, and in other cases you might even have to think about what your team members thinks of you, because if they have a poor impression of you, they may not listen to you and not get the work done. But the point ends up being here I'm trying to derive is the fact that when you're speaking, you do not want to stress too much out wondering what other people are thinking. Yes, you do need to take care of other people's opinion on the matter and how you deliver as well, but you can take that feedback after you are done speaking, after you have done with the meeting. While you are speaking, you do not have to stress too much that every single thing you're saying, is it completely correct or not? And you can even be off course by a lot of things. Okay, it's entirely okay to apologize towards the end if you have made a mistake, and you can correct about it. Now, I'm not talking about mistakes which could be an improper behavior at office, that you do name calling, or you get enraged, or you be sarcastic. Those things, or those etiquettes, would not be at all rated at the office setting. But I'm talking about in terms of when you're genuinely stressed about, you do not know what you have to say. In that setting, stop worrying what other people are thinking and come up with the best response you can. Any response is going to be a good response where you're trying to answer. And in most scenarios, you would actually know the answer. It's just the stress and the wondering and the worrying about what other people are thinking of you that you are unable to speak. So once you keep the worry aside, you will have a much easier time talking to people and conveying your ideas with both charm and confidence. The second idea I want you to take away from this video is that to make your point almost immediately. Now, when you are about to speak impromptu, you would be a little stressed about what is your main point going to be. And for that, you can take a pause for a few seconds and decide what the central thesis, this big idea, the main point you're trying to convey. And you just want to make it clear out loud in the very beginning itself. The longer you take to get to the main point, the 2 things will happen. Number 1, you might end up saying something which is not in line with the main point you're making, and then it will become very difficult for you to clarify what your main point is, and in that case you'll end up speaking even more. And when you're speaking more and more and you're not getting around to the main point, your audience starts to tune out and get irritated. So if you haven't reached to the main point quickly, your audience will start to wonder when the main point is coming. Is the question going to get answered or not? Where are you heading with all of this? And the more time it takes for you to get to the main point, the more antagonized your audience will become. Now, they would not just stop you or just walk away, though in rare cases that might happen if you just take too long of rambling. But almost in all scenarios, always better to go ahead and make your main point immediately. The sooner you get to the main point, everybody is on the same page. What are you going to talk about? And then you can take your time to elaborate and explain, make your arguments, cite evidence, and provide the references that are needed to make sure your argument is sound and solid. The third big idea I want you to take away from this video is to use connecting phrases as much as possible. And this is a secret that all good public speakers have, because they use these phrases to connect what they are saying between different sentences and blocks of words they're using. And this is entirely important because unlike a written message, though people do not have a luxury to go back and read what you have said before multiple times to understand what you have truly said, in a speaking session, you're spoken and done. It's done and dusted. And in that case, you do want to use connecting phrases so that when people know that when you have spoken something else is going to follow, which is going to elaborate upon what you've just said. For example, few examples of connecting phrases would be something like, here is why, or something like, I'll explain you why. Here are my main reasons. When you use connecting phrases like these, you can provide an introduction to the text. For example, I do not like the office new policy on remote work. Here is why. So in that setting, what you have done is that you have given a context to your listeners that you have made a big important point, and now using these connecting phrases, you're going to start citing your arguments, and now they're going to pay more attention. Okay, I know what this person wants to say, and these are the reasons why. Or another example could be, I'll give you XYZ number of reasons, maybe something like 4 reasons, and it could be, I believe that the office policy on remote work should be more flexible. I will give you 4 reasons to make my point. Now in that setting, the listener already knows that what your stance on the remote work is, what your suggestion you are making. You're suggesting that there should be more flexibility allowed in the remote work, and you're going to give 4 reasons, and they're going to be waiting for those 4 reasons to come around. So they know that you have made a point, and now you're going to provide citing evidence. And this really helps to clarify what you're saying. And as we have said multiple different times on our YouTube channel, clarity is incredibly important in the communication. In fact, we have made an entire video on that, the link for which you can find in the description. So please go check it out. Finally, the 4th idea I want you to take away is to clarify the number of points you're going to make. Now in an office setting, you're almost going to be making different number of points because it's office. So let's believe that you would be making presentation very often and you will be using bulleted list. More often than not, you won't be just chit-chatting in an office setting. You will be making arguments and counter arguments, not in form of aggressive debates, but to convince other people about an initiative or why you did a certain task in a project, or why you wrote the code in a certain way to your product manager, or your product manager. You're trying to explain why the user requirements matter, even though they may seem a backward choice in the beginning. And in all of these settings, nobody knows how much you're going to talk about, and you would not want to try people's patience out, because when you clarify the number of points you're going to make, people will generally have more patience, because then they are clear in their mind. Okay, I'm going to wait for 4 points or 5 points or 6 points. Now there is a caveat with this particular tip, that is, you do not want to end up saying, oh, I'm going to make an entire PowerPoint presentation, so 15 points on why you should listen to me on this particular topic. Now that's really going to try and test the patience out of the people. Use small blocks of conversations to make a point, because too much information just confuses people. So clarify the point in advance, 1 2 3 4, or 1 2 3, or 1 2 3 4 5, and that also allows people to remember what the information you have said before, because they have an anchor, like, oh, the first point that person said was this, the second point that the person said was this, and the third point was that, and the fourth point was that, and fifth point was that. And if you do not end up making these points, people will be like, what? So you do want to make sure that the people are clear in mind what you're going to say and how much you're going to say. So I hope you found this video particularly useful in terms of speaking impromptu in an office setting, that too in English. I haven't made much points about speaking in English, but the idea is that when you use these techniques and you already have a built-up vocabulary, you could express them in any language, specifically English. And with English, unlike your mother tongue, where you are more conscious about what you're going to say, having these tips and techniques in mind will give you a lot more relaxation of pressure, which is very important. You do not want to be too stressed. So hope you've liked this video, and if you did, please smash that like button and share and subscribe. And finally, please drop your ideas into the comment section. I would love to read what your ideas and thoughts are, and I would reply to each one of you. And finally, please do let me know what's the next video you want me to do. Thank you.